Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at the terrifying legend of the lantern in Blackwood Forest. In the fall of 1974, a hunter named Samuel spent the night deep in Blackwood Forest. He was alone, or so he thought. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the ancient trees, Samuel started to pack up his gear. His dog whined softly, sensing his owner's unease. Blackwood Forest was known for being one of the most haunted places in the region, and the night was only deepening the mysteries it held. As he was gathering his things, he thought he heard a noise just beyond the edge of his campfire light. It sounded like someone clearing their throat, but there was no one there. Samuel, with his years of hunting experience, was used to the sounds of the forest. He knew that every snap, every creak had a source, but this sound had come from the darkness, and it had not moved. Then he saw it. At first it was just a tiny point of light, but as his eyes adjusted to the gloom, it grew larger. The light was swaying slightly, just beyond the tree line. At first he assumed it was another camper, someone who had made the same decision to brave the night in the forest as he had. Calling out, hoping for a reply, Samuel stepped closer to the edge of the firelight, peering into the impenetrable darkness beyond. His heart skipped a beat. Whatever was there did not move. It was as though the swaying light had become rooted to the spot, suspended in the darkness like a fallen star. Then, after what felt like an eternity, a response came. A voice, raspy and distant, replied, "Hello." It wasn't the voice of a fellow camper. It was something else, something ancient and hollow. Samuel stumbled back, his blood running cold. The voice hadn't come from the tree line. It had come from inside the circle of firelight, and yet there was no one there. The light continued to sway, beckoning him. Curiosity battled with fear in Samuel's heart, and against his better judgment, he rose to his feet and took a step toward the trees. The moment he did, the light began to rise. Slowly at first, it ascended, breaking free of the branches that had concealed it. Higher and higher it floated, pulling away from the forest floor and drifting into the darkness above. Samuel stood frozen, watching as it disappeared into the canopy, leaving him in an eerie silence. There were no sounds of footsteps, no figure holding it, just a faint, cold glow drifting away into the night. Samuel never saw the lantern again, but its absence left a deeper scar than if he'd seen its bearer. To this day, he tells anyone who will listen the tale of the Blackwood Forest and the lantern that shouldn't be there. The locals say, if you see the lantern, you should leave immediately, because whatever is carrying it isn't human. Welcome back, campers, it's me. And if you thought the darkness outside your tent was scary, wait till you hear the tale of the woman who walks between the trees. For this next story comes from a place that I have hiked, a place that some of you may know, and it is one of the creepiest places that I have ever had the misfortune to visit. It's called Hollow Pine Forest, and it's in the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina. There is a story that the hikers whisper around their campfires about a woman who walks between the trees. And as with all good campfire stories, you should probably not go looking for her, because if you do, well, let's just say that you might end up spending the rest of your life wandering around in the woods yourself. So this is what you need to know. She's tall and thin and always in a white dress. But the worst part is she never looks directly at you. That is, until you blink, and then she's right in front of you. But don't worry, because there's nothing that she likes better than running her fingers through your hair and then whispering secrets in your ear. Secrets like, I haven't brushed my teeth in 3 days. Or maybe, do you think my dress is dirty? Now, the first time that she was seen was back in 1989. A camper named Rick woke up in the middle of the night to what he thought was the sound of screams in the forest. At first he assumed that they were just some overly enthusiastic lovers, having fun in the woods. But then he heard what sounded like whispers and footsteps near his tent. When he opened the tent, he saw a woman standing at the edge of the tent in the pale moonlight. He described her as having a pale, featureless face and fingernails that were long and dirty. She was tall and thin and wore a long white dress. Then she vanished. When Rick got out of his tent to investigate, he noticed that there were a set of small circular footprints in the soft earth surrounding his tent. The footprints led away from the tent into the trees, and then they disappeared. The strange thing was that they were not the type of footprints that a person with normal feet would make. These were small, dainty feet, like the feet of a young girl, or perhaps an old woman. But who was this woman, and what was she doing walking around in the middle of the night? Well, no one knows, but some say that she's searching for a way out of the forest. and others say that she's searching for you. In the years since, there have been other reported sightings of the woman in the white dress. She was seen walking along the Appalachian Trail and also along the forest floor. And every time that she's seen, people report that the same feeling of dread and doom washes over them. Some say that she is just a hiker who lost her way and is now trapped in the forest. But others say that she's something much more sinister. They say that she is the spirit of a young girl who was murdered in the forest many years ago, and her spirit is now trapped here for eternity. What makes this story the stuff of nightmares is that when people have tried to follow her, they've never been able to catch up to her. It's like she's always just out of reach. No matter how hard you try, no matter how fast you run, you can never catch up to her. And those who have seen her say that she moves with an unnatural grace and speed. She can climb trees with ease and jump over logs without even slowing down. There are also those who say that she's not actually a girl at all, but a man dressed as a woman. They say that he does this to scare campers, and that he gets a special kind of thrill out of terrifying people. But I have to say, if this is the case, then it's one of the weirdest cases of extreme method acting that I've ever heard of. So if you're ever hiking in the hollow pine forest and you see a woman in a white dress walking between the trees, just keep on walking. Don't make eye contact. And whatever you do, don't, under any circumstances, follow her into the woods. Because if you do, who knows what kind of nightmare world you'll end up in. Welcome back, campers. It's me. And tonight's scary story is about a place I hiked last summer. I have a rule: no campfires after dark. You know why? Because that's when all the forest monsters come out to play. There's a small clearing in Red Hollow Woods where no campfire stays lit for long. 3 friends once tried to spend a night there, but they didn't make it. Now, locals say if you see a flickering light in the trees at midnight, then you should keep walking. Don't stop and don't look back. But I was curious, so I did stop. And if you ever hike through Red Hollow Woods, you might do the same. It's a beautiful area, really popular with backpackers because there are 5 great campsites along the trail. Each clearing is nestled between towering trees, and at this time of year, the woods are carpeted with brown and orange leaves. It's breathtaking, but it's also spooky, and I'll tell you why. In 1981, 3 friends decided to camp in the 5th and final clearing. They built a fire, they cooked dinner, and they told stories until the moon was high in the sky. That's when the fire started to go out. At first, the flames sputtered and popped. Then suddenly, whoosh, the fire was out and the forest was silent. Not a single leaf crunched under their feet. Not a single pine cone fell from the branches above them. Even the buzzing of insects seemed to disappear. Then they heard a whisper. It came from somewhere deep in the trees. It said Emma, and it called out again. Emma. That was the first girl's name. She turned to her friends, her eyes wide with fear. Then the whisper came again, closer this time. It slithered through the trees, and it said, James. That was the second boy's name. He started to run, but before he took more than a few steps, another whisper cut through the darkness. It said, Michael, and Michael fell to his knees. They ran then, all 3 of them, deeper into the woods. They ran until they reached the main road. They didn't stop until they were sure whatever was in those woods couldn't follow them. They never told anyone exactly what they saw or heard in that clearing, but the locals already knew. See, campers always hear their names being called. That's how I know this story is true. Sometimes when I'm hiking through Red Hollow Woods, I hear my name being called. It happens when I'm alone. It happens when no one else is around. And when I stop to listen, I can hear it again. The whisper comes slithering through the trees. It says, Hey campers, get out of here. You're not welcome. This is our woods. And then it calls my name. So now I keep moving. I don't stop. I don't look back. Because when I hear my name being called, then I know the forest wants me gone. And believe me, I don't want to stick around and find out what happens next. Today, we're diving into the eyes on the ridge. Our story begins with a woman named Kelly. She was a park ranger who worked at a national park out west. Specifically, she worked on the trails. She knew every inch of them, including Ridge Trail, her favorite trail. She knew it so well because she hiked it often, both during the day and at night. One night though, she learned that she didn't know Ridge Trail as well as she thought she did. Because that night she learned it wasn't alone. She was about halfway through her hike when she first saw them, 2 glowing eyes peering at her from the tree line. She stopped and raised her flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, but it revealed nothing. The eyes stayed there, though, still watching her. still floating just outside the range of her light. It was then Kelly realized she wasn't alone on the trail. She turned and walked away quickly. But as she rounded a bend in the path, she felt a sudden urge to look back. She did, and what she saw made her freeze. The eyes were right behind her now, just a few feet away. She could see their owner standing there watching her. Kelly couldn't make out the creature's features in the darkness, but she could feel its eyes boring into her. Then it took a step forward. Kelly turned and ran. She didn't dare look back. She didn't need to. She could hear the creature moving behind her, crashing through the underbrush, getting closer. She reached the car park just as a pair of headlights came around the bend. Relief flooded Kelly as the car pulled up beside her. She opened the door and collapsed inside, slamming the door shut. The creature was gone by the time the car had driven the length of the park. Still shaking, Kelly drove home. It wasn't until the next morning that she realized how lucky she had been. The park had surveillance cameras set up along the trail. Footage from the night before revealed what Kelly had seen. In the video, you can see the eyes in the trees. They watch Kelly for a while, but then they begin to move. They move like a bobcat or mountain lion, a large feline native to the western United States. The footage also showed what happened when Kelly turned around. The creature took a step forward, but then it disappeared from the camera's view. It went off camera just as another hiker came around the bend. When the second hiker got close to the spot where the big cat had been standing, the camera's motion sensor picked up movement again. There was the hiker, and right behind him, just a few feet away, the big cat. The hiker didn't seem to notice, though he kept walking. The cat slinked back into the trees. When Kelly reported the incident, her colleagues told her not to worry. They said it was probably just a bear. Kelly knew it wasn't. She'd lived in the mountains all her life. She'd seen bears. This was no bear. From that night on, Kelly never hiked Ridge Trail after dark again. She says the forest was looking at her that night, and it hasn't stopped. Now, some say you can see the eyes in the woods if you look hard enough. Some say if you see them, you should run because whatever's out there doesn't want you to see its face. Here's the tale of the cabin that vanished overnight. In Green Hollow Forest, deep in the woods, far from the hiking trails and the tourists, something strange can happen. Every once in a while, a deer will lead a hiker off the path and into the trees. And if they follow the deer long enough, they may stumble across a small wooden cabin. Now, this cabin is very old and weathered, like it's been here for decades. It looks like it could use a new roof, and the paint is chipping off its wooden siding. Most of the windows are boarded up, but one of them is clear. And when you look through it, you can see a rocking chair next to a warm fire. So anyone who finds this place feels sorry for the poor soul who lives there all alone and decides to go inside and say hello. But when they knock on the door, no one answers. So they open the door and walk inside. And then they find out the poor soul isn't home, because there's no one in the cabin at all. There's nothing in the cabin, just dust on the floor and cobwebs in the corners. But there is that rocking chair next to the fireplace, and it's clean, like someone just got up and left. And on the back of the chair is a coat hanging by the door. Anyone who finds this place does the same thing. They put on the coat and turn to leave, but then they notice something strange. The door is gone. The lock has been ripped from the door frame, and there are no windows to climb out of. The entire cabin is gone. Then they panic and run for the nearest exit, but they end up lost in the woods with no cell service on their phone. And they spend the night sleeping in the cold, hard ground before they're found by search and rescue the next morning. Now, everyone who hears this story thinks it's just an urban legend made up by some survivalist group to scare kids away from their camp. But some people swear it's real. One of those people is named Paul. Paul was hiking in Green Hollow Forest with his 2 dogs. He was miles away from the tourist traps, deep in the woods by himself, when suddenly, out of nowhere, a beautiful white-tailed deer bounded across his path. He'd never seen a deer that color before, and he wanted to get a closer look. So he followed her deeper and deeper into the forest. After about half an hour, she stopped and looked back at him. She stared at him for a moment, then turned and trotted into the trees. Paul hesitated, then decided to follow her. He wasn't sure how long he walked for, but eventually the trees opened up, and there was the cabin. It looked exactly like the stories said it would. Paul's dogs started barking, but he silenced them with a harsh word and walked up to the cabin. He knocked on the door, but when it didn't open, he tried the handle and it was unlocked. So he stepped inside and called out, "Hello." No one answered. He could hear his dogs barking outside, but it was silent inside the cabin. Then he noticed the rocking chair by the fire, and it was just as described, clean and warm. He sat down in the chair and pulled the coat off the back. It was big and heavy. He put it on and felt a sudden rush of warmth spread through his body. Paul stood up to leave, but that's when he noticed the door was gone. He ran to the window and looked out, but there was nothing but trees. He tried to climb out, but the window was boarded up. He searched the rest of the cabin, but there was nothing. He tried the other windows, but they were all locked from the outside. He looked around frantically, but there was nothing he could do. He spent the night huddled on the floor in the corner, shivering and scared, waiting for whoever owned this place to come back and let him out, but no one came. In the morning, Paul woke up on the forest floor. His dogs were gone, and the cabin was too. He had no idea how long he'd been there or how he got out. All he knew was that he was miles away from where he'd been the day before. He found his way back to the trail and hiked out of the forest. And now he spends his days warning other hikers about the cabin that wasn't there yesterday. If you ever find that cabin in the woods, don't go inside. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. See you next time.